Hi, and welcome to episode 196 of the eCommerce One podcast. In this episode, Richard has the absolute pleasure of hosting Sylvia Sygrist, the head of marketing at Seep. Sylvia shares her journey into the world of e-commerce and the mission behind the Seep brand. Seep aims to eliminate 1 billion plastic cleaning tools from going to landfill by 2030. Richard and Sylvia discuss the importance of focusing on the specific niche, how building a strong online community can influence the engagement and brand loyalty. Sylvia also shares how brands can use referral programs in a smart way to incentivize customers. There's all that and more in this fantastic episode. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are listening to this podcast, so you're always the first to know when a new episode is released. Now, let's head over to this fantastic episode.
Hi Sylvia, how are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. And you?
I am lovely. It looks very sunny where you are today. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, I've just pulled down the shades, so yeah.
Okay,
great.
so I'm really looking forward to this one. Really looking forward to what you've been doing at Seep. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I think it'd be great for you to introduce yourself and tell our listeners how you got into the world of e-commerce.
Yeah, of course. So I started my career out agency side, actually. I spent almost 3 years agency side working for big multinationals, so HP, Consumer and Business Electronics, and Freeland Campina, which is a dairy FMCG brand. After being there agency side for quite a while, I really wanted to kind of expand my skill set, be involved in a lot more variety of kind of like marketing projects. And that's when I decided the startup world seemed the right thing for me, and I guess is. So I went on to work for Skinsnets, which was a skin and appearance clinic brand in London. I also went on to work for Albright, which is a business women's network, offering courses, events, networking opportunities. And then I ended up at Seep. I hadn't worked for a sustainable brand before, but I think what Seep was doing was really different. I hadn't seen products, plastic-free cleaning tools specifically in cleaning aisles before, so I thought it was very different. I thought the purpose and mission was really exciting. So yeah, I went straight into it. But yeah, I think I definitely started my career kind of working on those, big multinationals and corporates, and then went into smaller kind of startup world, scale-up world.
Yeah. So you've seen it from both sides, maybe big budgets and let's do this great thing, and agency side and no fear and but then obviously the very different when you're client side, networking and selling courses and things like that. Obviously e-commerce, working for big brands, a whole vast array of different experience dealing with different budgets and different challenges. So that's you've seen a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think definitely agency side. It's very different strategies, isn't it? Because agency side, when you're working with bigger brands, it's all about kind of driving awareness. You've got more budgets to play around. You can test around with more things, and then you go into startup, and that's more acquisition focused. Using the budget as efficiently as possible, trying new things, but then not being drastic and spending all the money on a test that you don't think.
A bit more scrappy, a bit more agile, a bit more conscious of the money.
Yes,
a lot more conscious of the money.
Yeah, definitely.
So Seep, I think it'd be great for you to tell the listeners about Seep and sort of the mission behind it, because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah. So at Seep, we're on a mission to eliminate 1 billion plastic cleaning tools from going to landfill by 2030. So the traditional cleaning tools that you see in your aisles today are all made from plastic. So either plastic or polyester. And when they break down, they release microplastics. So what we want to do as our mission is to encourage people to switch to a more sustainable alternative, a plastic-free alternative that can be composted or recycled. And even if it does land in landfill, it'll break down and not release or leach microplastics kind of into the earth, or it'll basically biodegrade harmlessly. So that's kind of like what we want to do since launching in 2020. So we've been trading for 3 years. We're in our fourth year. We've prevented over 3.5 actually million plastic cleaning tools going to landfill. And we estimate that around 55% of those products have not reached landfill at all because they've been composted by our customers or recycled or put into food waste. So yeah, that's kind of like our mission and what we're here to do, basically.
It sounds fascinating. I mean, we've had various of your, we had a delivery, a few weeks ago from you guys. Thank you very much for that. We like to look at the brands that we're having on the podcast, obviously in more detail than just going, come on, make sure everything sort of matches our ethos and sort of, our own sort of the way we run our business and, the way that the delivery was received. Is that how customers get the delivery? Obviously the way it was packaged and the way, I think that was just really nice, the way it was, packaged up and presented. I think that was a nice sort of moment, that unboxing moment. Is that all part of the process and the strategy?
Yeah, definitely. I think we definitely want to create experience. I think you received a personalized message, so that wouldn't go into every order because we just want to, say a thank you. But it usually comes with a leaflet. But that would be like the unboxing experience you usually get. Yeah. We're like an online first, digital first kind of like business. So yeah, that experience is really important, and I think that's one of the things that sets us apart. That we do care about. How our brand looks, how you receive it. We want you to open it and make you feel good about what you're seeing inside or excited to use our products. Yeah. So, it's all part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a part. I think it's a huge part, isn't it? Obviously, getting that order will come to you, but obviously once you've got that initial order, it's obviously that experience, that experience of unboxing, that experience of receiving that package is just absolutely key for a product like yours, where obviously the idea is those people become customers for life, as many of them that we can ask them to be and encourage them to be. And I'm sure you'll be sharing a few strategies on how you're doing that as well. But so the mission, you said at the beginning, 1 billion pieces or 1 billion, items. And I think you said you've shipped 3.5 million. So if my maths is correct, you're at 96.5%. Is that right? Yeah. But to go sort of thing. I think my maths are right. I'm sure somebody will check it in the comments and tell me I'm off, but I'm sure it's correct. Or we'll edit it again to make sure it's right. But
I'm trusting you on this one.
Yeah.
I'm just going with what you're saying.
Maths is normally my thing, so I think I'm bang on there. But I'm sure somebody will tell me I'm a decimal point out. But anyway, so obviously a relatively young brand, 3.5 years in, coming up to 4 years, and obviously a great. Sort of ethos behind the brand, and a 3.5% there. But obviously, breaking into the market and the eco space and sustainability, what have you done to really try and break into what is a very, very, very competitive space in such a short space of time? What are some of the things you've done, and what are some things that our listeners can think about that are trying to break into niches, maybe eco, maybe sustainability, maybe not, but also, ultimately is trying to be quite scrappy and very, and positioning. But what would you say about that? What have you done?
Yeah. So there are a few things that I can think of. I think one of the big things is just having a focus. So for example, I'll just take Seep and kind of applied examples. But like the cleaning aisle, you have cleaning liquids, sprays, you've got capsules, you've got laundry. So actually that category is really big. What we've really done from the start is really focus specifically on cleaning tools. And if you look at cleaning tools specifically, which are like your sponge scourers, the cleaning cloths you use, bin liners, and mops, you'll see that actually there aren't that many, alternative eco products. Like if you go into your local Waitrose, I doubt you'll see a sustainable product on shelf offering a plastic-free alternative. You'll see the Spontex and Vilitas, which are kind of the big legacy brands. So I think for us, like having a clear focus and sticking to it and not diversifying from that has really allowed us to, focus all our efforts in one area of like the clean house. So I think definitely having that focus is really important. And secondly,
so how many products are in the line then, or in the category?
Do you mean generally, or like how many?
How many products do you have in Seep?
We have around 20 different products. So some of them are kind of like different variations or pack sizes, but we have 20 different products in our range.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I think I did interrupt you there, so apologies. Can you please carry on?
It's all good. And so I think, like, secondly, as I mentioned, there are quite a lot of legacy brands in kind of like the clean tools aisle and probably in other aisles as well. But Laura started the brand kind of digital first. She started selling her products through her e-com website as kind of like her first channel. So I think that gave us an advantage in the online space. So our website looks great. She's been able to build kind of like an online community. We have like a bigger social following than some of the legacy brands have. So we're able to kind of really engage with our online audience and community really well. We also have quite a loyal kind of founding customer base called our Seep suite. And like with them, any feedback that we need or any new prototypes or designs that we create, we always kind of ask our C-suite to test them, try them, give their opinions and feedback. So we know that we're always developing new useful products that do actually really work. So I think that kind of like digital foundation has really given us advantage in the online space, which, a lot of these legacy brands don't have. They started out like ages ago and like, online and e-com wasn't really big. So I think that's given us an advantage. In the aisle. And then also, I think generally our brand stands out. So we went through a rebrand last year. So I would say that our branding looks quite clean, modern, but it still has like that energy. I think it's really interesting because if you think about the cleaning aisle, it's all about like power, efficiency, strength. And when you think of eco products, you think of brown, beige, maybe like kind, gentle, subtle. Yeah. So I think what we really needed to think about is how can we still convey that energy and also show that, our products do work, because there's nothing more annoying than buying a clean product and it not doing the job. Like you will just not buy it again, right? Like if a spray doesn't clean or if a sponge just breaks down, you're not going to buy it again. So I think we found a good balance in kind of conveying kind of a modern brand and kind of the sustainable messaging, as well as that kind of energy. And also our products are not wrapped in plastic, which is what you'd usually see in the aisle. So I think we've really thought about how our brand can stand out on shelves, but also like on our e-com website and how we can make it look different to anything that's out there at the moment.
You covered a lot of ground there, Sylvia, haven't you? I'm thinking, where's the best way to go? Because it's like, we talked about, obviously, you talked about focus. You've got a very focused set of products in a very specific niche vertical, so in terms of obviously then trying to target marketing makes it easier. I'm not saying it's easy because we'll come to the marketing piece next. And then you're building a community around it, obviously focusing on the social aspect, the community aspect, the sustainability. But I think, like you said about the branding, obviously standing out in the aisle and standing out online, was that quite a lengthy process, the branding? Obviously, Mooch, was you probably working with a branding agency or internally or?
Yeah, so we worked with a really small brand agency. They don't even have a website. They're like very niche. So we found that through like founder recommendations through the community, which is always really helpful in the kind of like startup scale up world. But they really supported us in creating kind of like the guidelines around our branding, the graphics. And it was quite a lengthy process because there were definitely things that we didn't want. We didn't want it to look eco. We didn't want it to look, subtle. We definitely wanted to stand out. We don't want to be referenced to, the usual things you think about when you think of sustainable brands like the ocean or maybe like turtles. We didn't want anything like that. So, I think it went through a lot of reviews, but I think when you have like a solid foundation, then it's easy to then roll out across your different channels. So we definitely needed support in that aspect, and we did get it from an agency.
Yeah, so I think we maybe do you want to tag up the branding agency that's responsible for the branding? Do you want to give them a shout out?
They're called Fly. It's Darren and Natalie who helped us. I think they're like a team of two. mainly, and they've got other team members that work with them.
We'll link that up because I think, it's important. Obviously, you said they don't have a website.
No.
But obviously, they're sort of, they're known in the space. And I think, we work with a lot of partners like that are maybe slightly under the radar. And there's a reason for that because they're quite maybe a bit selective of who they work with. And they do very, very good work. So,
Yeah. No, like you said, selective. But they're really great to work with.
So, you talked about, obviously the branding and leading into the marketing, all part of the marketing, but, channels, the actual let's get into the marketing. Obviously, you've shipped 3.5 million pieces, relatively young brand, that's a lot of products, marketing channels, what marketing channels have you been focusing on? Are you focusing on now to grow the brand?
Yeah. So we're still like very much our D2C drives a chunk of our sales. So that's a really big focus for me. We also have other channels like Amazon and then our wholesale kind of retail. But like I'm pretty much focused on D2C because, it's our biggest channel. Digital marketing channels are just very effective. They produce results really quickly, which is always what people want to see. So those are really important for us. I think the big one is meta ads, as I assume it is for a lot of kind of like scaling brands. So we invest a lot of time in kind of creative testing through our meta ads. Also, I mentioned it briefly, but organic social channels are really important as well because that's kind of something that differentiates us from competitors. It's really important for us to continue to educate, engage our audience, drive interest in what we're doing. It's part of like the founder storytelling, I guess you could say, and also like how our brand is represented online. So it's really important for us. We're starting to invest more in like influencer gifting, so showcasing more UGC content type of thing that showcases our products in different ways or different ways to use them. So that's something that we're testing out and looking into more now. I mean, there's a huge, like, during the lockdown, I think it was like Clean Talk or a huge increase in, clean influencers. And I don't think we've really tapped into that like very well. So I think there's really room for us to kind of engage with that community more as well.
So what content is working well right now? When you obviously talk about meta, you talk about, organic social, but maybe meta ads and stopping the scroll, getting the orders, building the brand on socials. What sort of content is working well? What ads are working well?
Yeah, so I would say like for meta ads, there are two themes that like never disappoint. So one is our founder videos. They just have worked really well since the start. Like we've always ran founder videos, and it's usually kind of Laura, our founder, holding up a plastic sponge, like, did you know the sponge is made from plastic? Or, hey, I'm Laura, I'm the founder of Seep. I started Seep because I hated these. They're made from plastic. So I think something that always references the traditional version of the product, because the truth is that people kind of can relate to, that yellow, green sponge scourer, but it's likely that people haven't seen like an eco sponge before or knows what that looks like. So we found that always having that familiar references is really, really important for us. And I guess that's the same. So the second theme that works well for us is the us versus them theme. So again, showing the plastic sponge, what's bad about it? It's not washable, not compostable, low quality versus our better solution. And again, it's using that reference point, which had been like a really big learning for me because, whenever you're thinking of bringing a new product to the market, you think like, oh, people will just know what it is, or, but I think that people just, for example, ads that don't work well are the ones where we just show like our product in hand.
Yeah.
And I think people
just like, what is it?
Yeah.
We're educating them before that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because our product is white. So, and it just looks, I don't think people know what it is. Maybe like they think it's for the body, which you can use it for your body if you want to, because it's completely like plastic free and made from plants. But yeah, I think like it's more mysterious, I guess, whereas people know what a yellow one is.
Now, you might be looking for an SEO boost, a down-to-earth digital PR campaign to share your story, or maybe just some straightforward technical help to amp up your performance. Now, that's where eCom Now comes in. a partner that's all about making things easier for your online store. Our services cover everything from creating professional content for your e-commerce categories to refining your product descriptions. Now, whether you're just starting out or have been in it for a while, we're here to deliver real, impactful results that add to your bottom line without unnecessary commitments. You can order one-off or multiple projects with a quick turnaround. Simply choose what you need.
So yeah, comparing the two and just educating. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know those green ones didn't they don't compose and decompose. In landfill. Oh, we maybe should educate, then try, have a really good experience. Yeah, no, I like that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And what we found is that actually, why that is so important is people don't realize that their sponge is actually made from plastic. I don't think people think about it a lot. Like they may buy the eco cleaning sprays. There are a lot out there like Method, Neat, Ecover, but they don't think about the tools, or maybe they use it, but a lot of people don't realize when we ask them that those yellow ones are made from plastic. They might think it's some other material, but it is actually plastic. So I think we have like a big job of educating, firstly that it is bad, or that it is made from plastic, but also that there is an alternative, because people don't know that there are other options out there. They just, they're so used to using the plastic version that we also have to show that, there is an alternative.
Another way.
Yeah, exactly.
So you touched on UGC, but I think what a lot of clients of ours and people we speak to, struggle to, maybe do the deals and with the influencers, or to maybe even start that process. What are some advice that you would give to listeners about potentially incentivizing creators to work with brands with UGC, or customers more so, I think?
Yeah. So interestingly, on the customer side, we've tried that. So we've incentivized, customers to send us content of them using our products by giving them free products or giving them credit to buy products on our website. And while maybe there's interest in it, or people are interested in doing it, what we found is like content is not like the quality that we would need to kind of like create an ad with. So I think that is like a big challenge for us. I think maybe, so our audience is kind of like busy moms, 30 to 55. Like it's really different to like a Gen Z audience that might be, really in tune with the latest trends, really tech savvy, knows like the TikTok stuff.
Videos every day.
Versus like, busy moms, they just don't have the time. So I think like getting that contact with customers has been a challenge for us. So if you've got any tips, I think that would be great. But what we've done instead is, as I mentioned before, that we actively reach out to influencers. We usually target kind of like nano, micro, so influencers with smaller followings. And you'd be surprised that a lot of them are so willing to support Seep and so willing to support small businesses because they believe in what we do, or they love how our products look, like our design is very different. So, they're keen to try it out. So that's the way that we get into the hands of like content creators, influencers. And we've seen that we get like some really great content from that, that we can then use, organically on our website as well as on socials. So I think it's really, finding the right fit, but also, being upfront that you are a small business. Like their support means a lot. Some of these creators we work with on a continuous basis, so we're able to send them. We always send them free products. Whenever we launch a new product, we'll send it to them. So it's also building those strong relationships with those smaller influencers. And we've tried, and we've tried bigger ones, but I think what a lot of people are finding out is it's usually the smaller ones where you see the higher engagement, or the higher engagement in your brand, because they're genuinely interested in kind of like what we're doing. Yeah.
So do you request a video review as part of your post sort of purchase? Obviously, a week or three after, is it part of your post purchase sequences? Like different review platforms obviously inherently have that functionality built in. Quite a lot of them. I won't mention any now because we're not doing a podcast about review platforms. We've done so many of those. But there's a couple of fantastic review platforms. that obviously have that built in as part of the process, after the order's been received and so forth. There's an opportunity to then leave, a video review, some form of UGC, and then obviously tying that into potentially some sort of incentive, whether that's, points in a, incentive program, a VIP program. Are you doing those sort of things?
Yeah, so we have a reviews platform that we use, and when someone leaves a review, there's always the option to leave like an image, a video, whatever you want. It's not used that much, I would say. Like, people are just happy to leave a review. I guess it requires more effort. But when someone does leave a review, we give them a discount or like points towards our loyalty program. So that's kind of like the incentives that we offer. And you'll see that usually if someone does kind of capture content, it usually be imagery. But that then again isn't like very exciting to then use across our socials, because you just take a picture of your sponge. Like, it's not that, that revolutionary. Cleaning aren't like really that, sexy. Like, you wouldn't be cleaning. You're like, oh, I really need to take a picture of that. So it's a very different product.
We're on a mission to make Seep cleaning tools sexy. I'll eat to get them.
I mean, like, we'd love to make it very sexy.
A whole new hashtag coming, I think. Cleaning is sexy. Good luck with that one. So you touched on that sort of incentives and, and building community, and, maybe, for the listeners, I think there's a lot of e-com stores that we speak to still don't have some form of loyalty, sort of focus on that loyalty piece, getting the customers initially is one thing, we talked about acquisition a little bit, but that loyalty retention, is absolutely key in this era we're in right now. What sort of things are you doing? Obviously, you get that order, and maybe they've ordered, a bit of everything or 3 or 4 things. They've had a beautiful experience of unboxing, as beautiful as you can with your sponge. What are you doing to build loyalty post-purchase?
Yeah, so, one thing that we've tested is a loyalty program, which has been points-based. Actually, what we're seeing is that we're thinking of sunsetting it, actually, because I think people like sign up to it, but then disengage with it. And even though it's kind of like integrated into our email flows, I think people aren't using it as much. Although the ones that do use it, they use it a lot. So you'll see like some super loyal customers that just collect so many points and are really engaged with it, but then the majority just aren't. So what we're moving to is, a pure referral program, which currently makes up our loyalty program at the moment, but we want it to just be kind of like pure referral, make it very simple and easy, so that we're focusing on just getting customers to refer their friends and offering an incentive on that, like give 5, get 5. Yep. And in our email flows, we've also got kind of like different, so we've got a loyalty flow. So like if you spend X and have done this many orders, you're in our silver, segment, and there's a gold segment and the VIP. And so with each of as part of those different segments, you get like different benefits, or you might get a discount, or you might get free product. So we've built that out quite recently. We've also got post-purchase flows. If you've bought something, we'll remind you to like stock up.
The platform you're using, does it begin with a K?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
No, it's a great platform. I love it. I think it's one of the best that we've used.
We very much manage dozens of brands, Klaviyo accounts. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so let's just change direction a little bit. So obviously you've got the D2C is a huge part of the business, but we've got a retail side. And I know you're sort of working with Ocado. Why did you sort of decide to do that? How was that sort of part of the roadmap and the plan?
Yeah. So I would say that retail has always been part of our strategy, our growth strategy. Like, we want to reach as many people as possible. We know that there's demand in the market for our products, and we want to make our products accessible. So like when the business started out, I think we started selling into small like wholesalers, like your local refill shops, boutique shops. We've slowly grown from that, and we started supplying more like local retailers. So we went into Plant Organic and Whole Foods, which I think is very local to London. And then like more recently, so like this year, we've really targeted bigger national listings like Ocado, Booz and Lakeland. So it's kind of been a gradual growth. And actually, we've been accepted onto the Tesco Accelerator program. So you'll be seeing us on Tesco shelves soon, which is a huge milestone for us. But essentially, like, we don't want to just be a pure e-com brand. Like, we have like bigger ambitions than that. We want to be there on the shelves with the legacy brands. We want to be a household name. Like, if you're not buying a plastic sponge, you're buying Seep. At least, like, that is a dream, maybe my dream, but I think that would be like the ideal scenario. So, we've got those big dreams, I think.
So it won't be long if you've got anything to do with it before the majority of our readers, listeners, are walking through around their favorite supermarket, and we'll have a Seep section or a Seep end of aisle, even better, end of aisle piece.
Hopefully, that would be great. And if the listeners, they're going to be in Tesco's one day and see Seep, make sure you check out one of our sponges, help us out, support us.
So you obviously touched on a few things there around the different flows, just stepping back a second before we move on, but you touched on a few things there around, building out different flows based on, different actions, and sort of building like VIP customer segments and flows, very much sort of Klaviyo language and email marketing language. But what else have you sort of been sort of testing, A/B testing, and what sort of results have you had from that testing? It sounds like you like to, segment and test and test and test, and you have to be. You've been a newer brand, be very scrappy with the budget and making sure we've just spent 10 grand over here and sold one sponge. Obviously, that's not you're gonna have a difficult conversation, are you? So, what have you been A/B testing? What have you been testing?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've recently tested, so this is more like campaign-wise, is kind of a very limited time offer, which we've never done before. So this was actually this year on Prime Day, which I think was the 16th, the 16th of July. And it was a 24-hour offer, which we've never done before. And kind of like the messaging around that email was, you don't need to be a Prime member to get Prime discounts. Here's 15% off Seep. And we've seen that email outperform like any email we've done before in terms of sales. It was really surprising to us because we've never done it before, and we didn't think like, that urgency messaging and limited time, it just works so well. And we actually replicated that on our campaign for back to school, which we ran for 48 hours in that last weekend of August, and we saw similar results. So that's definitely something we'll continue doing, definitely.
I've not heard that one. So obviously Amazon Prime Day, do it. Not obviously, it's not listed on Prime where you're doing it on your own, but just sort of piggybacking that. Everyone's aware of Prime Day-ish if you listen to any type of media and you've got an account, but then you're piggybacking that sort of language, that terminology, that day or 2 days, is it? I think, I like that. I've not heard that one from the independent merchants,
Yeah, and I guess people are in the buying mindset, so maybe that plays into it as well. People are looking for the best deals, things like that. So maybe that just worked in our favor. But sense of urgency, I've learned, really important.
Yeah. Nothing like a deadline, isn't there? We've got I'll give it a shout out. We've got our 200th episode coming up, and we look at people. We'll have about 200 guests there. And obviously, you're more than welcome to join us for the day as well, Sylvia. When we look at like organising a big event or a fairly big event, like nothing like urgency and deadlines, because obviously the event has a date, but we know 2 months out, hardly anybody's booked. 6 weeks out, a few people are booked, and then 4 weeks later, 2 weeks to go, you're like, boom, it's like 100 tickets in like 3 days is what we expect, sort of thing. I'll let you know if it goes to plan. If I'm sitting in an empty everyman on the day, but that the deadlines and the timelines and just obviously genuine deadlines, timelines, changes in price, and being straight with it.
Maybe your last 24 hours will be your best day.
maybe. So obviously it sounds like you've obviously had some fantastic success in such a fairly short space. This podcast started way before you started the brand, before Seep began. So it's a very new brand, and obviously doing some amazing things, getting some amazing listings, in the big retailers, and big plans to get more. But I'm guessing, there have been quite a lot of challenges along the way. And I think it's important that we talk about this sort of thing, this side of e-commerce and running a business, especially for our listeners. Everyone knows that, working in any role potentially, or definitely running and owning an e-com store, it's not all rosy, is it? There's challenges on the way. What's been some of the biggest challenges Seep have had over the last 3 years, and maybe how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I think our biggest one is, as we grow retail, like our retail channels, our retail listings, driving the rate of sales in our national listings while also driving growth in our other channels. I think that's a big challenge for us, because you're thinking about marketing more across a lot more different channels. It's kind of like multi-channel strategy, where we've been focused a lot on acquisition, as you can imagine, kind of like on the digital side, the DTC side. Now we're thinking about awareness and branding and marketing. So I think there's a lot that goes into, organization, communication within the team, planning, forecasting budget and where we should allocate it. What are the results we're expecting to get? And just like a better understanding of how all those different channels can come together. Kind of like, they're different puzzle pieces, and we have to find like the best way that they can fit together to create the biggest impact. And I think like that's probably like the biggest challenge for us. Like what are the best levers, how much? So as we grow, that
deciding on which channels, how much to spend on each channel, testing, when you take one brand, say in the UK, but there's 20 channels you can look at, but then you add another country that might have 20, 30, 40 channels, you add another country, and all of a sudden you've maybe got dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, depending on your sort of bigger plans of channels. Then what technology, the technology you use to run your Google shopping 2 years ago might not work in France.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, like, with that, we're still like a very lean team. Like it's still the same kind of team, but you're just doing more. So like finding that focus, finding the priorities, what's going to make the biggest difference is also really important. And I guess one thing that I've really seen as well is just like the sheer volume of content that is required. I don't know if people, like probably other brands feel this as well. Like, we have like packaging design, leaflets, catalog ads, you've got your meta ads that you still have to do. Our listing on Amazon, the ethos content, like there's just so much content that you need. So, prioritizing those and making sure you have like the capability of producing all of that as you grow is, really important.
Yeah. So it's been fantastic, Sylvia, to have you on. Is there anything on the roadmap for Seep that you'd like to share that's sort of any sort of bigger plans that maybe aren't known that you're able to share that are sort of on the roadmap for the next 12, 18 months, or sort of any bigger aspirations or new products that you're looking at possibly? You maybe can't share that side, I would imagine, but anything you'd like to share that tease our audience with some things that you're working on in the background there?
Yeah, I think like we definitely love to like explore internationalization. So we only retail in the UK at the moment. So I would definitely say like that's on the roadmap. Not sure what regions yet. We have like a bit of idea, but like we'd love to understand how we can expand into new markets. That would be really amazing. Mentioned that we'll be in Tesco, so that will be a huge national listing. We hope to get more like any retailers out there that need stock. We'd love that. So I think that's a really big push this year, and I think our sales team have done like a really great job at that. I think those two are kind of like the big ones coming up. In terms of products, that's always like a question mark. We kind of have sponge cloths, for example, that have different like printed designs on them. So we continuously refresh those designs. So you might see kind of like different variations of our sponge cloths. We do limited editions as well, which we'd like to kind of do more of to kind of create that engagement, enticing. We'd love to collab with other brands on kind of those designs as well. So that's something that we're thinking about in terms of our products.
Fantastic.
Lots of the roadmap.
I look forward to walking around Tesco very soon and seeing your products.
We'll be the ones taking like selfies in the aisle.
I look forward to seeing that. I really do. I think that's very inspirational to the listeners. A lot of brands looking to get listed in in various stores, and that we probably could do a whole episode on that piece alone, just sort of that process, obviously getting from starting a brand to getting listed in major high street stores, such an achievement. So well done, guys. Yeah, really, really good. So I like to finish every episode with a book recommendation. Sylvia, do you have a book to recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, so I mean, this is one that I'm reading at the moment, so I haven't finished it yet, but I'm enjoying it. Mm-hmm. So, and it's probably it's a very popular one. It's Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. So it's not. First of all a memoir. So this is the first time I'm actually reading a memoir, because it's not really like a book that I'd go for, but it was recommended multiple times. It's not like super marketing specific. It's more about like the entrepreneurial journey. I think like I can relate a lot to it at times.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
So I think like,
so the story of Nike, isn't it?
So I think there's definitely some things that you can take from it from a marketing perspective, like the importance of storytelling, understanding your customer. But generally, like how to build awareness from scratch. Build out your marketing from scratch.
Negotiating. I read it about 5 years ago on holiday. It's like going to different factories, doing deals at the beginning, sort of thing, and trying to be able to afford that order, sort of thing, and then dealing with all the different things that come along. And fantastic book. I definitely recommend that. Well, Sylvia, it's been a pleasure. For those that want to find out more about Seep, more about yourself, what's the best way to do that?
So for Seep, go to our website, theseepcompany.com. There you'll see like a whole product range. You can also add me on LinkedIn. So I'm at Sylvia Sygrist. Also, if you'd like a 20% discount, you can use that at checkout. So it's just Sylvia 20. So you apply that and you'll get a 20% discount on your order.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Wouldn't be a marketer if I didn't mention that.
I like it. And you can track how worthwhile doing podcasts are.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll be back.
And it's not all about the order. There's the brand awareness.
Exactly. UTM, that discount code. I wish I could.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I think, I really going to be keeping an eye on Seep. I think it's fantastic what you're doing. And I look forward to seeing it in my local Tesco. And then I think we'll get you back on in 18 months when you've shipped about 10 million products. And you're in about 5 more retail big brand stores. And we'll have a chat about that.
Yeah, it's been great speaking with you today.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are listening to this podcast. So you're always the first to know when a new episode is released. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next one.